Let's look at the agenda. The agenda is the usual. We'll start with the minutes and then go through the reports from our pastor, from Lisa, Tom, Ralph, and Dave. Then we have our new business, which is mainly elections. And we end, unless anyone has any questions. So let's start with the minutes. I hope that everybody has read the minutes. I would like to ask for a proposal for the motion, for any discussion on the minutes. Anybody got any comments on the minutes? Otherwise, could I have a proposer, please, to accept the motion, for the motion to accept the minutes, please? I have a proposer and a seconder. Thank you. And everybody who votes, who's in favor of approving the minutes, please raise your hands. Thank you. Anybody against? Anybody abstain? The minutes are passed. And thank you, Margaret, for taking the minutes and for managing all that. At the last congregation meeting, we had 75 members present, which is pretty good. And we had, it was the budget approval, and Holly Lofgren, she got the award, the Eric Hansen Award. And of course, Bill is here. Nice to see you again, Bill. Thank you. Pastor Ben, your report, please.
Okay, so a couple bullets up there for you. So come see, go be. By now you should be very familiar with what that's about. That's referring to our capital campaign, which we started last fall and continues over a 3-year amount of time. And it's important to connect the capital campaign not just to the purchase of a parsonage, the renovation of Torvin Hall, as important as those are, but it's our shared commitment and investment in our life together as we move into the future that God has in mind for us. And come see, go be, we talked a little bit about that in our sermon today, is this idea of being an invitational church, a welcoming church, an inclusive church, where all people feel that this is a place where they can receive God's love. And then the go be, to be sent after we're filled with that sense of love, that God's grace and the difference it makes, we're sent into the world to share it. So just kind of grounding us, definitely core values, but I think in the spirit of where we are, come see, go be really captures it. Then just a couple things, our Lenten journey with Jesus. So this year, Lent begins on the 14th of February, so please join us for that. But the spiritual time of Lent is for many is a time of spiritual growth. Sometimes people say, well, I'm giving up such and such for Lent. I'm a big believer in adding spiritual practices or being renewed in spiritual practices. And this year, that will be the invitation to grow in spiritual practice and journey with Jesus for that time. So just an encouragement for you in that regard. Community listening projects. So this has been referred to. We've been advertising it. How many of you have been contacted by someone to be interviewed so far? That's amazing. So what we want to do is we have a team of people who are doing interviews with people who live in the community. And by community, we had to somehow define it. It's not Cupertino because there are parts of Cupertino that are actually quite far from Bethel. So we did a 2-mile radius. I have a map in my office if you want to see it, but it actually includes 5 communities. So Cupertino, San Jose, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, and a sliver of Saratoga are within 2 miles of this church. And so what we've done is we're contacting first Bethel members who live in those areas to learn from you what it's like to live in your neighborhood, what it's like in your community, and as we conduct these interviews, they'll go from there, it will be, who else do you know that lives in the community, a neighbor, a friend, and would you help refer them so we can do more interviews? So as the process goes, we'll get able to talk to people that otherwise we would never meet and hear from. Because I can tell you, having done community listening in lots of different ways, one of the least effective ways to do community listening is going door to door. How many of you would even open your door if a stranger knocked on it? How many of you would? Ralph would. Great. We'll send them all to you. How many would even answer the phone if you don't know the number? He just goes to voicemail, So this is a referral system, and we're really excited. And at the end of the community listening project, so it's going to go through April, we'll have compiled all the listening, all the data, and I'm confident some new patterns and insights are going to emerge, which will then guide us as we move forward, as we think about how can our ministry and missions be changed or added to in order to fully respond to the community that we live in, and to find just something that really speaks to the gifts we have with the needs that are out there. So that's happening. I'm really excited about that. And then we talked about our core values, generosity. I just want to give thanks to the members of Bethel for your ongoing generosity. Dave's going to give a financial update, which is very good news. But I just think in general, this is a place where people are generous with their giving, but also their time, their gifts, and their spirit. And I think that is something to commend. It makes serving as your pastor a very satisfying and grateful experience. So I'm thankful for all that you do and the gifts that you bring, and for our continued partnership together. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Pastor Ben, for your leadership, for your service, for your guidance. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been great working with you over the past year. Okay, Lisa, ministry report.
Good morning. I am on the council, and I am what's called the ministry teams liaison, so I talk to most of the ministry teams and like to think that I know what's going on, although I'm sure that I miss a lot of things. Because we have a lot of ministry teams, and they do a lot of things. A lot of the teams have submitted reports that you can read about in the annual reports, so I'm not going to try to tell you about all of them because we'd be here all day. I would like to say a very deep-hearted thank you to everyone who participates in a team, or more likely for a lot of you, a lot of teams. You guys are great, and it's nice to see so many people involved in doing God's work. If you want to join a team or just have questions about different teams, all the team leaders are listed with the reports in the ministry, or in the annual report that you have, or you can get a hold of me, or Mary Deutscher tends to know most of what's going on too. We'll be glad to get you pointed in the right direction. You can change my slide. I said that I couldn't possibly tell you about all the ministry teams, and that's true, but I did want to tell you about a new ministry that came up at Bethel last year, and that was the Rotating Safe Car Park. The Rotating Safe Car Park is a program where people who live in their cars can have a safe place to come at night and sleep and be undisturbed. A lot of churches do this, some other organizations. Well, Bethel got involved in this for the first time in November. We partnered with the LDS Church in Saratoga, who's very experienced with this program, and they kind of took the lead on it. They coordinated the volunteers, they coordinated the food, they put up there is a little bit of cost for this, which their members had given generously to support. But the facility was here. They used our parking lot, and 13 people from Bethel volunteered throughout the month, and they covered about a quarter of the time slots that needed to be covered, so that was really good for a first time out. In addition to having a place to park, the people who come at night, they had access to one of the bathrooms in Zoar Hall, and they either got a snack in the evening and in the morning, and then once a week they actually got a real hot dinner. So since it was November, they were provided with some stuff to keep them warm, including some quilts that the quilters had made. So thank you very much, quilters. The program went really, really well during the month of November. We're not aware of any significant complaints from the guests, from Tulip Kids, from members. The problems were minimal. I think there was a leaky toilet, and I think that one night they locked themselves out of the bathroom, or maybe somebody locked themselves in the bathroom, but just really trivial things. So we were really thrilled with how well it went, and in fact, the leadership of the car park team came to council and said, we think we should do this again next year, and council unanimously approved that. So in November, we're going to do it again. We will be partnering with the LDS Church again. They've already agreed to that. But this year, we hope that we can double our volunteers from 13 to 25 or 26, and we're also hopeful that we can double the amount of shifts that we cover. There's other ways to help. I should call out that Paul Baldwin and Hella Bloomsteber are the head of our team. If you're here, stand up real quick. Thank you. I should also note that we didn't have a whole year to plan this last time. They pulled this together pretty quickly. But this year we do have many months to plan, and they would love to have people join the team right away to help with the planning and the preparation. So please consider that. Call either one of them if you're interested. But come November, we're going to need a whole bunch of volunteers. Like I said, hopefully 25 just to cover the shifts. But there'll also be opportunities to bring food if that's what more your style. We may need to purchase some cold weather gear to help people out. So we know that we have a dedicated team of mission shoppers. So this will be another opportunity. And also there's always just monetary donations will be welcome. So pretty exciting that we're going to try this again. I almost forgot. If there are more questions, there's going to be a first Wednesday speaker at some point to talk more about it. So plenty of opportunities to learn about this before November, and I hope they'll consider joining it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And I want to say I really appreciate all the work you've done as part of council over the past year, and really appreciate your initiative last year of having speakers here on Sunday morning services and getting more volunteers for our different ministries. So that really worked out extremely well. Thanks, Lisa. Now, over to Tom.
So, we can handle leaky toilets. We can handle locked-in bathrooms. We just don't want to be locked in a bathroom with a leaky toilet. So we're going to make sure we work on that. I have the pleasure of sharing with you a couple different things when we're going to talk about the youth gathering coming up, the Torvin Hall refresh, and some upcoming congregational events. So to start with, I love that, that Ben talked today about invitational. I've been working on the gatherings for the ELCA since the mid-'80s, and one of the things I always try to put in as we talk about programming is that not only is this a place that kids are welcome, but this place, this event of 30,000, 20,000, whatever we have, wouldn't be the same if they weren't there. Which is, I like to think about that, the same thing with being part of the church, is it is not the same without Ralph sitting right here. For a lot of reasons, but for all of you, that's what we try to instill. So this gathering that's coming up is going to be in New Orleans this coming summer. With 20-something thousand high school kids. So we'll have the gathering that we'll participate in, as well as some events after. We're going to visit a plantation that is run by former descendants of former slaves that worked in plantations, not the glorious slave owners. Also, we're going to visit the Lorraine Motel and the Martin Luther King Memorial, and also the Civil Rights Museum in Birmingham, Alabama. So we're going to do kind of a tour of the South as we come out of the gathering. So you get to help participate by helping fund this thing a couple different ways. We got the Easter breakfast coming up with Waffles Amore, always a big hit. So make sure you come bring your friends that day. And we have our 1 to 99 board that we kind of bring out every couple weeks, a chance for you to sponsor a number, which is your dollar number. But other ways too, we've got 19 people going. I've got 12 kids, 3 adults as sponsors, and then 5 young adults, because we're also having a young adult gathering that's going alongside, especially to pick up those kids who couldn't do it during COVID. So it's going to be a great, great event, so make sure you keep your eyes posted and your prayers coming our way. A couple things on the facility side. Almost a year ago, we had that huge storm that took out our redwood tree, took out our canopies. Well, last Friday, we finally got the canopies replaced, worked with the insurance company to get those, so those got installed. And now we've got nice shade for kids to be out there. Also, Torvin Hall. I'm going to just step back a little bit. The parsonage, we did complete the parsonage, because some of you weren't here when we talked about it in December. It's all done on time, on budget. Ben seems to be pleased. There are 2 thumbs up. Apparently, it's a winner. Wonderful to get that done with some great helpers, some men of Monday. Mike Coleman, a great leader in that piece. So that piece is we can kind of put to bed, and now it's just managing properties and the wonderful things that you get to do. Torvin Hall is our next step. Where we're at right now is in the discernment of appliances. We're looking to address the kitchen, the 2 bathrooms, not the ADA bathroom, but the other 2, the kids' bathrooms, also the youth room, and kind of the perimeter kind of rooms to the Great Hall. To get those done, that way we can stage things in there. Then we'll move things out and work on the Great Hall. So right now we're in the procurement and looking at planning through that piece. One thing we did finish is the beam retrofit. And as we talked about it a while ago, as things age, sometimes they sag. And we're trying to help to stop the sag in Torvin Hall. So basically they took these plates, really wonderful. Oh, I know. I heard industrial is cool. It's super cool these days. They're all going to get painted out, so they'll look less not cool. But basically, it's keeping the roof from coming down, which is what we needed to do. So that piece happened, so that's good. We got that one finished up through the permitting, through all the things. Then we're looking at doing these lanai doors that are going to open up Torvin to the outside patio. So that's coming. Some of the other things you can read on there. Also some more details in the report, so you can kind of look at that in the annual report. Time for fellowship, which is always a part of our thing that we'd like to do, and to open up to outside groups as well that might be able to use our facility as well. Some things that are coming up for you all. We're brainstorming our out and about events this next Sunday, so make sure you get some ideas to us. I've already got some that people have forwarded, which are great. Labor Day retreat, we're in the planning process of getting that going. And we also have our multi-generational Mexico trip in April. So we've got an adult one that's just for adults in the fall, and one that's all ages in the spring. If you're interested, make sure you talk to me, get your passport, and come join us. That's it. Record time.
Thank you, Tom. You're a man of many hats, and I appreciate all your work with the youth, with being a tour guide, and being our facilities guru. You keep everything running so well. So thank you, Tom. And now for Ralph on the endowment committee.
Click for me. Tony will click for me. All right. All right. I got some. My inability to read the font requires me to stand here. So I'm here to talk about the endowment fund and the endowment committee. So I'll give the traditional blurb on what it is as a reminder, because we're only reminding you every 6 months, but that's going to change as we do a little bit more with the endowment fund. The endowment fund is a financial account held separate from Bethel's operating expense account. It's not related to the capital campaign or any other dedicated accounts. It's meant to provide funding for specific opportunities in the area of outreach, education, and charitable work. Endowment funds are usually funded by a lump sum gift, perhaps a memorial for a lost loved one or a distribution from a will or a trust. If someone has a desire to leave money to the church without a specific purpose, the endowment fund is a great way to do that. The money is invested in a combination of stock and fixed income securities managed by the ELCA for Bethel and for other churches all over the country. And our Constitution specifies that only the gains or dividends, if you will, from our principal balance can be used to distribute to the mission of the fund. So on our team this past year, it's been myself, Robin Kettner, Dave Larson, Margaret Schmidt, and Marianne Jones. Margaret Schmidt and Marianne are rolling off this year, so I wanted to thank them for their time on the team. If they could stand. Margaret standing. Thanks, Margaret. So the balance in our fund is $206,000. It's up 14% year to date, which is great because it was down 14% last year, as you might remember how the markets did and how they're doing. So we have about $7,700 in gains that are available to distribute per the Constitution. And given that the fund has been, I'll call it somewhat dormant or not really used and not a lot of knowledge about it, the team wanted to jumpstart the visibility and put the fund to use, and is proposing to distribute all the gains that we're able to distribute. So it's about we're proposing about $7,500 be distributed during this calendar year, and what we were proposing, thank you, is kind of a 1/3, 2/3 split to give away about 1/3 of the money now at this meeting per your approval, and then save about 2/3 for review and approval by you at the next congregational meeting in August or September. I don't know the exact date. So our proposal is to give $1,100 towards the first Wednesday educational series, that this would cover a stipend for non-Bethel presenters as well as refreshments. We have about 4 meetings left before the summer break on that, so this money should be more than enough to cover stipends, to cover travel, or a kind of a thank you gift towards speakers that take time and come to Bethel. As you're aware, we've got one coming up this Wednesday. The remaining money, the $1,400, we realize that making the trek to New Orleans for our youth is a costly endeavor, and seeing that they are spending a day touring slave-related sites and doing a lot of education and learning, hopefully, that the mission of education and outreach is met there. So I believe the Constitution requires that you all give a thumbs up to our proposal to give $2,500 in this manner. If you think this is a great idea, please raise your hand. Thank you. Next slide. So that leaves us with $5,000 to distribute in the fall. And we are excited that Bethel is working towards bringing a new community engagement staff person on board. Hopefully that will happen. And we want to have some money available to fund projects we don't know about yet, but might be specified as something that staff person thinks we should take on. And if there's not money in the budget for that, that we could use some of this money towards projects with more of an outward focus towards the community. As well, we are interested in your thoughts on making use of the money endowment fund over time, and welcome your input for what's going to happen in the fall. We'll continue to remind you about that through a bulletin announcement and the like, or if something comes to mind, I'll be in the Narthex afterwards if you have a thought, as well as if you're interested in learning more about how endowments work and how to contribute to the endowment now or in the future. See me, I'll take your name, and we'll get you some more information about that. So I think that's it for me. Thanks for your time.
And thank you very much, Ralph. Thanks for your work on the endowment committee, being a trustee. And thank you especially for making the whole endowment fund more visible in the congregation. I think it's just, it's really important to make it visible to everybody. And I think you've done a great job of that. So thank you very much. Now, the big moment, our finances. Dave.
Thank you, Tony. I'll let you control that. This is just a brief report because, of course, the summer part of our meeting is when we go over the budget. So we thought it would be appropriate to give you a brief update. So why don't you put up the next slide, Tony? I spoke to you about 7 weeks ago as part of the Temple Talk. And at that time, well, now you did the big reveal, Tony. Thank you. That was on December 10th. I got to give you a Temple Talk talking about the capital campaign and some of the ongoing things. And at that point, I shared my concern. One of the previous treasurers shared with me that there's nothing like being treasurer to help your prayer life. So at that time, we were hoping to get during the month of December $80,000 given to the capital campaign, and for the general fund, $125,000. We're actually a little bit behind in giving up to that point, and so we were really hoping that you could come through. So Tony, could you show us what the results were? We got $104,000 for the capital campaign and $130,000 for general fund. So thank you so much for your support. Now, we'll have another slide just giving you a little snapshot of where we are in terms of the main numbers on our financial dashboard. So with that giving that we saw in December, putting us as of December 31st, about 4.8% ahead of where our forecast was for giving. We also have income that comes in from rental and a few other things, so when you put it all together, we were about 3.7% ahead where we expected to be. And our total expenses came in just slightly above, less than 1% above. So when we look at our net income on a cash basis, we're about $11,000 ahead of where we expected to be as of the end of December. So thank you for all, that we can see how your money coming in then affects what we can do in our budget. So thank you. And then one last slide is to give you a little financial update. Tom gave us a great sense of where we've been, what we've been able to accomplish so far. As you know, the capital campaign had a large component that was related to the parsonage, and we couldn't really know how much would be available for the other projects until the parsonage was completely done. We have commitments between what the congregation individual members have committed of almost $1.9 million, and then the money, $175,000 set aside by the church in the years leading up to the capital campaign, giving us a little over $2 million total to work with. The parsonage, the house, the closing, the remodel, all of that coming together cost $1.9 million. And then when you subtract out the mortgage, which is the part that will be paid by the church over the next 30 years, or 25, whatever the term of the mortgage is, we can see that the cost to the capital campaign is almost $1.4 million. Interest for the short-term loan, we expect that to come in at $18,000. So now we can see much more clearly that we have about $675,000 for all of the projects. That includes the parts that have been done with the screens and the bracing, and now Tom moving into the next phase, we have some money in the bank that we can use wisely as we go into the next part of the kitchen remodel and those auxiliary buildings, and then on into next year. So that's the update of where we are financially on the capital campaign. So I'll turn it back to you, Tony.
Thank you, Dave. I don't know how if people really know how much work has gone into all this financial stuff, especially over the past year with the purchase of the parsonage, understanding our finances, figuring out can we do a mortgage, because we're dealing with millions of dollars here. We're dealing with a lot of money. If you look at the spreadsheets that that's Dave Larson, Dave's predecessor, and Dave have put together, these spreadsheets are so massive, the formulas are such that it almost takes a neuroscientist to understand the formulae, and all the computing power on the Apollo moon landing would not have been sufficient to power Dave's spreadsheet. But because Dave and Anne-Marie and others and Farah have put so much work into this, into understanding the finances, it means that we've been successful in modeling what we as a congregation can do. And that, together with all the contributions from all our congregation, has made it possible to have that nice new parsonage, to do the work in Torvent Hall, and to continue with upgrading Torvent Hall. So again, thank you very much, Dave. I really appreciate everything you've done. And now we come to our volunteers who work on council and on various committees. Let's just talk about who's on the council. So we have AJ, who's our youngest member of the council. AJ, can you stand up, please? As I mention your names, please stand up. Yeah. And I really appreciate, your contribution as youngest member. You've spoken up many, many times. You ask great questions. I really love that. We have Jenny Edstrom. I think you're somewhere there. Please stand up as I call you out. And again, I appreciate your contributions, and I know you had other reasons you had to leave a little early, but it was very nice to have you on board. Ellen Eist, again, bringing her vast experience into council, her vast business experience. Andrea, I didn't see Andrea today, but Andrea's terming out now, and I really appreciate her having been on council for several years, making a lot of contributions. Lisa Laxon, you saw earlier. And Margaret Smith, who plays a slightly more hidden role, but a really critical role in keeping our minutes and keeping us on track and making sure that we have things documented so we know what we're supposed to do. So again, thank you, Margaret, for the diligence and getting everything done. And Margaret's minutes are very detailed, and that's really good. Much more detailed than I would do it, and I appreciate that. Dave Tribby we talked about already, and Doreen has been a pleasure to work with, and I think there might be a nice surprise afterwards that Doreen might become president afterwards. And I'm delighted to have her as a successor. I don't see where you are, Doreen. Oh, there you are, right in front of me. So thank you very much for all your contributions on council. And what I really enjoy about you being on council is you've got slightly different opinions and slightly different emphases from some of the rest of us who are more techno nerds. So this is really, really very, very, very rich for us at the council. So thank you, Doreen. And last, the guy who's present, he's outgoing, so you'll be rid of him. We have... Thank you. So we've got some open council positions. We're looking for a young adult member at large. That's an open position. So if there are any nominations from the floor, we could take that nomination. Would anybody like to be nominated? I don't. Absolutely, yes. You can nominate right now. So any young person, a young adult could volunteer right now, or you can volunteer later if you want to think about it. Going, gone. Okay. Member at large. We have Janice Martinson proposed as a candidate for member at large. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Otherwise, let's take a vote. Who's in favor of having Janice Martinson? Please raise your hand. It's aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Janice Martinson's elected. Is she here? Oh, there you are. Sorry, I should have introduced you first, but I think everyone knows you. We have a position project manager on the council. It's currently open. It's not critical to fill it because we don't have any projects right now. But if anybody would like to be on council, that's a good entry position for council. Are there any nominations from the floor for this position? No? None seen? Going, gone. Okay. Next one is HR advisor. Are there any nominations for the floor? I will hand over to Doreen to handle this one.
He doesn't want to, you know. So Tony has volunteered or has been willing to become the HR advisor on council. So I guess if any nominations from the floor? Okay, following Tony's model, going, gone. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, please. Yeah. Any nays? No? Abstentions? Okay, he's the he's the man.
Thanks, Doreen. And finally, for President-elect, a lot of work by the Nominations Committee, and I really want to applaud your work, Robin and everybody else on the Nominations Committee, and Brett. They have talked with Christine Louis, and she's willing to be a candidate for President-elect. And would you like to just stand up and introduce yourself? Yeah. Great. So are there any other nominations for President-elect? And what President-elect is that you are President-elect on the council. It's kind of like Vice President for a year, and then you automatically become President at the end of that year. So, any nominations? Going, gone. Okay, let's have a vote. Anybody in favor of having Christine Louis as President-elect? Raise your hands, please. Anybody against? Any abstentions? All right. Congratulations, Christine. Wonderful. So we've got a good council. I want to talk briefly about our committees. There are 4 committees I want to talk about today. The Finance Committee, which is essentially appointed by council, so it's not voted on by the congregation. And we have Joan Christensen leading that committee. Joan is not able to be here today because, as you know, there are some family deaths. But Joan, Anne-Marie Knitzer, and would you all stand up, please, as I call out the names? Anne-Marie Knitzer, Dave Larson, Dave Tribby, Farah Brock as our administrator, Pastor Ben as our pastor, fiscal officer, Dave, and the president-elect, Doreen, and myself are all members of that committee. Thank you very much, everyone, for your work. And this committee does a lot of work on our financial projections, especially with the parsonage, thinking about Torvand Hall, thinking about our leasing, etc. So, very important committee. Thank you very much for all your work. The Audit Committee, it's a kind of a hidden committee, but it's, again, a very critical committee because we like to make sure our finances are all above board. And that's where I really appreciate Daryl for leading this committee, Daryl Kettner. If you can stand up, please. Daryl, Jill Burkhart, I don't think I saw Jill today, and Jennifer Green, and I have not seen Jennifer, but those are 3 on the committee, and again, I really appreciate your work. I've been on the audit committee myself in the past, and I know how much work it is during the crunch time, and it's really, really important, so thank you. And and I want to applaud also, the audit committee and Farah's work, Farah Brock, managing the finances as administrator, and the audit committee working with her to make sure, to protect her, to make sure that everything's in good shape. And it's always been in extraordinarily good shape, so thank you. Nominating committee. Robin, Brett, and Diane Stauffer, if you can stand up, please. This committee is very important because we need to find volunteers who will run our various other committees. And it's really good that the nominating committee members are not necessarily members of council and so on, because you don't want to have too much concentration of power in a church like ours. So the nominating committee has done a fantastic job, and we've got some new people involved in our committees who had not been involved before, and that spreads the decision-making across more members of the congregation, which I think is really healthy for us. So again, thank you very much. Big round of applause. Yeah. Now, endowment trustees, again, if you can stand up, please. Ralph already mentioned Margaret Schmidt, Marianne Jones, who are both outgoing, Ralph Miller, Robin, and Dave. So again, thank you very much for all your work. So we have a few open committee positions. For the Endowment Committee, we have two candidates for the two open positions. And I wanted to ask, are there any other nominations for the Endowment Committee? Any nominations from the floor? I'm looking very carefully through a microscope, and I haven't seen any yet. Going, gone. Okay. So thank you very much, Ralph, for working with Greg and with Jim Lentfer. And Greg and Jim, if you could stand up, please. I don't know if Jim is here today. Greg? Yeah, I didn't think so. So Greg. So let us have a vote on Greg and Jim. I'll take them together. Who's in favor of voting of having Greg and Jim being on the Endowment Committee? Good. Anybody against? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Greg, and congratulations, Jim. Now, finally, for the nominating committee, we have an open position. Are there any nominations for that open position for the nominating committee? And you can nominate yourself too. And the big bonus of being in the nominating committee is the reward is you'll be working with Robin. Yeah. Anybody? Ralph? Wonderful. Okay. All right, great. All right. Any other nominations? Going, gone. Okay. All in favor of having Ralph be on the nominating committee? Raise your hands, please. Anybody against? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Ralph, and thank you very much for volunteering. So we have one other, it's not really an election, but we have the Synod Assembly, which is happening in June in exciting Fresno. And Fresno, there's some interesting things there. So Helen and I did it a few years ago, and it's a nice trip to Fresno for the Synod. It's in the Hilton Hotel there. Don't laugh, there are some nice things in Fresno, I'm serious. And those who are from Fresno can confirm that. Beth is going to sponsor 2 adults and a youth rep, which means your expenses are essentially paid to represent our congregation at the Synod. And I think it's good to go because you meet people from other churches, you learn more about ELCA and so on. And Helen and I have gone a few times, and it's always been good. I know last time Ellen and AJ went. Other members of the congregation who are not voted to go, who are not sponsored by the congregation, may of course go as visitors, but they would not be non-voting. So do you have any nominations from the floor or volunteers who would like to go to Synod? Any? I'm going to put you on the spot, Ellen, because are you interested at all this year? Yeah? Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Ellen was saying the last Synod was great. The previous one was tiny bit contentious. But the next one should also be a good environment, a good Synod. Any volunteers? Otherwise, going, gone. Okay, so if you volunteer for the Synod, if you'd like to go, please contact Pastor Ben or our future president, Doreen. I have now a very pleasant part of our congregational meeting, and that is the announcement of the Dorothy Meyer Award for Joyful Service. Unfortunately, I never got to know Dorothy Meyer, but this award has been given to many people, starting with Robin, and you can see the whole list of people who've received this award, many of whom are here, and it's for joyful service to the Bethel congregation. Now, you know the Eric Hansen Award is for service outside of Bethel, and this is more for service inside of Bethel. And we had a number of candidates, and council talked about it, and council voted, and council decided on the candidate who participated in many ministries in Bethel over a period of 60 years. Everything from Altar Guild, white breakfast, Women's Guild, Thanksgiving lunches, VBS snacks, evergreens. She helped organize all kinds of mailings and flyers, weddings and funerals, read lessons during worship, and did all kinds of potlucks and youth gatherings, mouth cross events, social events, and was also a very generous person, a wonderful person. And I really enjoyed interacting with this person at all times. Now, unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but the winner of the award this year is Anna Hogel, who passed away last year. And given that Anna is no longer with us, it will be up to her son Tom to decide on where the donation might go. And I don't know if you got something in mind, Tom, because I think we managed to keep this a surprise from you. But if you have an idea, let us know now or in the next few days. So I'm really happy that Anna got this award because she was such a big part of the congregation for so long, and we all sorely miss her. So we're coming to the end of our congregational meeting, and I want to ask, are there any questions, any other items that people would like to raise? There's no Super Bowl today, so we don't have the same urgency. But any questions otherwise? Robin? Oh, sorry, yes. Janice? So there are ongoing discussions, and at this point I just can't say anything. Probably in a few weeks' time we should be able to make an announcement. Yeah, thanks. Any other questions? Going? Gone. Okay. What happened here? Right, so again, thank you everyone for your continued support of Bethel, with your time, resources, volunteering work, and so on. And I would like to, as we transition now to our new president, Doreen Baldwin. And I would hand over the gavel to Doreen.
Oh. Some big shoes to follow in a lot of ways. But I found a Bible verse that I thought would be a good one to share with us today. So it's from Apostle Paul's second letter to the people of the city of Corinth. And it goes, "We know that God, who raised the Lord Jesus, will also raise us with Jesus and present us to himself together with you. All of this is for your benefit. And as God's grace reaches more and more people, there will be great thanksgiving, and God will receive more and more glory." So from the 4th chapter, verses 14 and 15. And so that's where we're hoping to go. Okay. If you've got comments, coaching, any of that kind of stuff, I'd be happy to hear from you. So, Pastor Ben, do you want to close our meeting? Thank you.
So we're excited to have Doreen lead our congregation for the next year, but I want to just give a special thank you to Tony for all of your work. It's been a pleasure. Please join with me in a word of prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for this time and for this gathering of this congregation. Ask, Lord, that you would continue to bless Bethel as we walk together serving your people within this congregation and in our community. Let your Spirit continue to lead and guide us in faith, in service, in love, in justice, and the work we do in your Son, Jesus' name, in whose name we do pray. Amen. I think I can officially say, go in peace. Now, Ellen told me later, I said, go in peace. She said I should stay in peace. So you've stayed, thank you. Yeah. Oh, a formal, I think it's Doreen. You can ask for a motion to adjourn.
Oh, boy. Okay. I need a motion to adjourn this meeting. Oh, and we have one already. Imagine that. Second? Oh, several seconds, okay. All in favor, say aye. Okay, opposed? No? Abstentions? No? Lunch is calling you. See you soon.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, we should work. No, please. Calling time and calling is always best.